If they do not disarm, there will be hell to pay. These are the words of President Donald Trump, spoken just hours ago from his Mar-a-Lago estate. But if you think this is just standard political rhetoric, you need to look at the numbers he just threw on the table. For the first time, the President of the United States has claimed that a coalition of 59 countries is ready to enter Gaza. And here is the terrifying part. He didn't say they are there to keep the peace. He said, and I quote, "They want to go in and wipe out Hamas." He explicitly stated that these nations don't want Israel to do it. They want to do it because it's the right thing to do. This statement has effectively reset the entire geopolitical chessboard of the Middle East. We are no longer talking about a ceasefire negotiation between Israel and Hamas. We are talking about an ultimatum with a global coalition behind it. We are in late December 2025. The world was expecting a quiet transition into the new year. Instead, we are staring at a deadline that expires in days, not weeks. Is this coalition of 59 real? Are we about to see international troops fighting in the streets of Gaza? Or is this the ultimate bluff, a madman theory maneuver designed to force a surrender without firing a single American shot? Hello everyone, and welcome. Let's analyze the breaking news that is dominating every situation room from Tehran to Brussels right now. In the last 24 hours, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in Florida for a critical summit with President Trump. This is their 5th meeting this year, but the context today is different. The Phase 1 ceasefire, which has held, barely, since October, is crumbling. The region is stuck. Netanyahu came to Florida looking for a green light to restart operations if necessary. But he walked away with something much bigger. He walked away with strategic immunity. During the press conference, standing side by side, Trump made a definitive declaration. He said, "Israel has lived up to the plan 100%. Do not underestimate the power of that sentence. By certifying Israel's compliance, the U.S. president has officially shifted 100% of the burden onto Hamas. If the war restarts tomorrow, the U.S. narrative is already written. Israel followed the rules, the other side broke them." But the atmosphere at Mar-a-Lago wasn't just about policy, it was about legacy. In a move that surprised many, Netanyahu announced that Donald Trump will be the first non-Israeli leader in history to receive the Israel Prize, the country's highest civilian honor. This is not just a medal, this is a message to the Middle East. It signals that the bond between the Trump White House and the Netanyahu government is not just strong, it is unbreakable. The era of U.S. pressure on Israel to show restraint appears to be over. The pressure has been fully reversed. Now, I want to take a few minutes to deeply analyze this claim about the 59 countries. This is the most confusing and dangerous variable in the entire equation. When Trump says 59 countries are ready to wipe out Hamas, who is he talking about? Let's look at the data. Back in October, during the ASEAN summit, Trump mentioned that 59 nations had signed on to his peace framework. At that time, it was framed as a diplomatic endorsement, countries agreeing to the idea of a new Middle East. But yesterday, he weaponized that list. He took a diplomatic list and reframed it as a military coalition. Is it plausible? We know the U.S. has been working to build an international stabilization force. For months, the idea was that Arab nations like Egypt, UAE, Saudi Arabia would provide the troops, and Western nations would provide the logistics and funding. But here is the catch. Arab nations have historically refused to send troops to fight Palestinians. They might police a ceasefire, but they won't act as a hit squad for Israel. So is Trump bluffing? There are two possibilities here. Possibility A, he has secured secret commitments from private military contractors or special forces from NATO allies who are willing to operate under a peace enforcement mandate. Possibility B, this is psychological warfare. Trump knows Hamas is degraded. He knows they're holding out for a better deal. By inventing or exaggerating this monster coalition, he is telling the leadership in Gaza, if you don't surrender to the technocratic government we proposed, you won't be fighting the IDF anymore. You will be fighting the world. The phrase "hell to pay" suggests that the U.S. is ready to unleash something we haven't seen yet. Remember, Trump views himself as the ultimate deal maker. In his view, a deal was signed. If one party reneges, he takes it personally. And a U.S. president who takes a betrayal personally is a very dangerous thing for a militia hiding in tunnels. To understand the endgame, we have to look at the document that was on the table, the 20-point plan. This is the blueprint for Phase 2. The core of this plan is the technocratic government. The proposal is to strip both Hamas and Fatah of power in Gaza. No more politicians, no more warlords. The strip would be run by a committee of qualified Palestinians and international experts. Think of it like a corporate restructuring of a failed state. The plan focuses on water, electricity, and sewage, not ideology. But the most controversial part is the oversight. The plan proposes a board of peace to supervise this government. And who heads this board? Donald Trump himself, along with figures like former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. This is unprecedented. We're talking about a sitting U.S. president proposing to personally chair the oversight body of a foreign territory's reconstruction. Critics are calling it a colonial mandate. Trump calls it the only way to ensure the money doesn't go to tunnels. But for this board of peace to function, the guns have to go. You cannot have a technocrat fixing a power line while a sniper is watching from the roof. That is the disarmament condition that is the bottleneck. Trump said Hamas has a very short period to disarm. What does very short mean? In diplomatic language, that usually implies a deadline tied to a specific upcoming event, likely the new year or the inauguration of the new oversight body in January. If the weapons aren't turned over by then, the hell-to-pay phase begins. We cannot analyze this meeting in a vacuum. While Netanyahu and Trump were discussing Gaza, the shadow of Iran was looming over the room. Simultaneous to the hell-to-pay warning for Hamas, Trump issued a separate, even sharper warning to Tehran. Reports have surfaced that Iran is using the ceasefire pause to rebuild its nuclear and ballistic missile sites. Trump's reaction? He didn't mince words. He said if they continue to build up, the U.S. will eradicate that buildup. Notice the vocabulary. He didn't say sanction. He didn't say deter. He said eradicate. Eradicate is a kinetic word. It implies airstrikes. It implies bunker busters. This confirms the head of the octopus strategy we have discussed before. The U.S. strategy seems to be a two-tracked approach. Track 1, force the tentacle, Hamas, to surrender immediately through the threat of international annihilation. Track 2, hold a gun to the head of the octopus to ensure they don't intervene when Track 1 happens. Netanyahu has been pushing for this for decades. He's always argued that you can't fix Gaza without neutralizing Iran. It seems that in December 2025, he finally has a U.S. president who agrees with the sequencing. The message to the Ayatollah is clear. Stay out of Phase 2 or you lose your nuclear program. There is also a deeply human and emotional element to this ultimatum. The issue of the hostages has been the bleeding heart of this war for over 2 years, but the situation has changed grimly. Trump specifically mentioned that only one hostage's remains are the primary focus of the current friction. He said he is the only one left. He met with the Gvili family at Mar-a-Lago. By narrowing the scope to a single individual, the negotiation dynamics change. There are no more batches to trade. There are no more complex ratios of 10-to-1 or 50-to-1. It is now an absolute binary, all or nothing. Trump is using the hell-to-pay threat to force this final closure. He wants to wipe the slate clean. He wants to enter 2026 with the hostage crisis file closed and the reconstruction file open. This makes the situation incredibly volatile. If Hamas believes they can still use this last hostage as leverage for a better deal, they are misreading the room. Trump is signaling that the time for leverage is gone. So, here is where we stand. The deadline is set, the coalition, real or imagined, is named, and the U.S. president has given Israel a blank check for Phase 2. We're witnessing a high-stakes game of poker. Trump is betting that the threat of 59 countries is enough to make the other side fold. But if they don't fold, if they call the bluff, then the hell-to-pay scenario becomes a reality. And the question shifts from will there be peace to who exactly is going to fight the next war. The next 72 hours are critical. I will keep monitoring the situation from the Situation Room. Thank you for watching.